Okay, I'm going to go live on Facebook. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Hello. Okay. I'm feeling all kinds of nerves as I am coming on live to do this, to share my experience with you on what exactly happened this past weekend in New York. So I kept it very mysterious. I kept it private. I kept it uh, as a somewhat of a secret because I wasn't sure how I was going to share this with everybody. Some people in my life, my sisters, people, my friends are really close to me, and a beautiful community of women that is a part of the coaching, the love, sex, and relationship coaching program that I'm doing right now. They know about this. But it really took me some time to think about how am I going to really present myself out in the public with everybody and to share this very authentic, vulnerable, transparent part of my journey with people without having to receive maybe negative comments or judgment or what people are going to think of me. But then it finally hit me. It finally hit me. If I am going to take a powerful stand for other women, for the entire humanity, to liberate their sexuality, their connection to their bodies, any shame and guilt and judgment in the bodies, if I'm taking a stand for that, then I get to walk the talk, right? I get to be totally transparent and vulnerable and not giving a rip about what people think of me. And I get to live in my truth. So, and I feel like, this experience, what I created in this weekend in New York, has so much powerful wisdom and nuggets and insights that I know I get to share, and I cannot be selfish and keep it all to myself. So here I am. Here I am, fully raw, authentic, and transparent with you guys. And I want to share with you what I did in New York. But before I do that, let's backtrack a little bit. Let me give you some context of where I'm coming from. Growing up in the Asian culture, I was born in Hong Kong, and I was born and raised there up until I was age 9, in a very pretty conservative, traditional household where, the girls are supposed to be conservative. You're supposed to dress, conservatively, cover up, cross your legs, and don't sleep around. You're not supposed to have sex unless you're married. You're not even supposed to talk about sex and all of these ideas, you name it, right? I'm sure lots of you can probably relate to this. And yeah, it's a very taboo topic. We never even talk about this, like even uh, public display of affection, right? Was it PDA, holding hands, kissing, or making out? Any of that, it's also shamed at. It's taboo. It's not to be displayed out in public. And all of these ideas and beliefs have been so ingrained into my body, and not wearing, sexy clothing. I shared this before in the past, where the very first time as a little girl, when I wore a mini skirt because I wanted to feel pretty, right? I wanted to dress up. I wanted to embrace my sexy. And the first time I did it, I was called by someone that I looked up to for love and affection and care, basically called me a prostitute. And in that moment, I remember how painful it was, how much shame I felt in my body, and just how wrong I felt because I put on a mini skirt, right? Even to this day, I can still feel some of that shame in my body bubbling up. So it's that potent, right? Things like that people say to us, it sticks with us. It's a part of our energetic feel. It's a part of our energetic being. It's stuck somewhere in our body. So, and then as I continue to grow up, I remember in school, in high school, we have these uniform policies. Who remembers the uniforms, right? You're supposed to wear, pants, no skirts. You're supposed to wear no spaghetti straps, no tank tops. All of these insane policies for that dictate what a woman should wear or should not wear, because we don't want to provoke in inappropriate behaviors from the male counterparts. And now really looking back, I see how absolutely bizarre all of these policies have been in repressing and suppressing this powerful part of who we are as this female body. But I'll go more into that later. So I remember wearing one of my favorite dress to school. I just felt so good in that dress. I felt sexy. I felt beautiful. And I got shamed again, right? Because it was a spaghetti strap. And I remember being pulled into the office. And at that time, I was a good girl, right? Never get into trouble, never get pulled into the office. I got pulled into the office in front of a huge group of students in the cafeteria by this lady that I was always so intimidated by. And yeah, I was in the office. I got into trouble. Apparently, I wasn't supposed to wear that. And again, I felt so much shame. I felt so much shame, so much guilt, so much just terrible, almost like my entire life force were constricted in that moment. And yeah, that became a part of my body. It became a part of my energetic being. So all of these things, layers and layers of trauma that we carry with us, and they never go away unless we do the work, the conscious work to releasing and healing and letting go of these trauma in our body. So that's the less subtle ways of repression that I've experienced in my sexuality, my sensuality, and my connection to my body as I continue to grow up. And the next layer of that comes down to sex, right? Making out, making love with people. How okay is it for you to make love with someone that isn't your partner? That all of these ideas that society has dictated what's okay and what's not okay, when at the end of the day it's your body. It's your body, and you get to decide what you're going to do with it. Right? You know what's best for you. You know what is in most alignment to what feels right with your body. So, growing up, I had lots of different ideas and shame around, like embracing this powerful side of us. This is our life force, guys, ladies, women, men, if you're watching this. Without sex, you wouldn't be here right now. Without this beautiful union between the masculine energy and the feminine energy, without this union, you would not be here right now. You wouldn't be created. The sacred act of penetration and making love, that's what bridge spirituality and humanity. Woman, our body is literally what brings something in the non-physical into life form, into the physical. So there's so much magic in this. There's so much magic in love making, in sex, in sexuality, that has been turned into something so disgusting, into turn something that is so shameful and so wrong and so taboo. It's a systematic way that society, people in power, it's using to disempower us. But that's for another day. Okay. So going back to what I was saying, I'm 25 years old now, right? Up until very recently, I had all of these limiting beliefs in my body that I have really cultivated over time, where sex was almost like a possession that I held, that I give in exchange of a man's love, which is so toxic, right? So toxic. Right? Unless this man commits to me, unless he say, we are boyfriend and girlfriend, then I'm not going to give him my body. And that's essentially what we've been taught, right? Like, we're not supposed to give our bodies away unless we are married. This whole idea of our body as an exchange, as a commodity, as something to be given away only in exchange of the man's love for us, his attention, his approval, his validation of who we are, then we give it away. And that's how I've lived for most of my life, which is why every time I had sex, in the past, and the love wasn't there, and that's how what I attracted, right? Because there's this part of me that is constantly seeking out love, validation, and approval from men, and I thought I would get that if I give myself to him in that way. And continuously felt empty, unfulfilled, unsatisfied, and just broken. Like I felt broken deep inside, because that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And I came face to face with all of these insane toxic beliefs that were in my body, and how much I was seeking a sense of worthiness, seeking a sense of value in my connection with men, up until very recently, when I started doing the work, and I started to see and feel my own value and worthiness. And this is something, again, for another day. I don't want to go too much into details of how I got to where I'm at today, but it's this powerful shift that I was starting to experience, where I feel like such a total badass queen, goddess, like this essence within me, that I am enough. I'm whole. I am complete as I am, without needing a man, without needing success, without needing money, without needing anything external of me. And the more I fall in love with my body, the more I fall in love with this sacred sexual side of me, and the more I learn how to pleasure myself, the more I learn how to, and pleasure is not just sexual, right? Pleasure comes from taking a sip of a delicious cup of coffee, or basking in the sun. I feel so much pleasure, and I feel like I can achieve an orgasmic state of being no matter what, just completely on my own, just by being in commune, cannot say the word right now, just by connecting with the higher power, the divine force, this space around me, feeling this unconditional love around me. I feel so much ecstasy and pleasure and orgasm, like orgasmic state of being every single day. The more I can fill up that cup on my own, the more I no longer needed that from other people. So when I do come together with another beautiful being, and co-create and make love, it's coming from a place of wholeness. It's coming from a place of, how can I make this even better? It's not that something is missing from me and I need something from him, right? So what happened this weekend was, I took a stand for my sexuality. I took a stand for what I deserve to experience. And in the past, every single one of my sexual encounter with men, I never knew how to use my voice. I never knew how to express and verbally request what I want, what I need, what I desire, what I would love to receive from the other person. I had been a massive people pleaser up until very recently, up until I did the leadership training and released a ton of that. And I was a massive people pleaser in the bedroom. I didn't speak up when it was painful. I didn't say no when I didn't want to keep going. And it was just a very toxic way of being. But because the more work I've been doing, the more I know how to express, hey, this is what I desire. This is what I want. This is what I would love to experience and create with you. And I got connected with this really, really beautiful divine masculine man who's been doing his inner work for us for probably like a decade. And I knew him since December last year, so for about a year now. And he was actually someone that I collaborated with in one of my series, in my summits I put together. He was one of my speakers, actually. And and from the moment when I first saw him, I just felt this powerful attraction in him. and I couldn't explain it. Right? I found him very physically attractive. I found him very emotionally attractive. His level of mindset, where he was at, his insights, like the work that he does. He served men, right? He is a leader in men, supporting them with becoming the best version of who they can be. So I was just so attracted to him. But at that time when I first met him, I was again in this like people pleasing mode. I saw myself less than, because he was an expert, he was in authority. So I didn't give myself the permission to lean into that desire, to lean in curiosity of what this could be. So nothing really came about in our connection, and we continue to stay connected, just on Instagram and Facebook, really like witnessing each other's journey as we continue to evolve. And it wasn't until September this year, when I was doing my leadership training, I was really working on deepening my intimacy with myself, deepening my intimacy with men, learning how to receive, learning how to be in surrender, allowing, not so much in my masculine hustle, not so much in my masculine wound, the wounded masculine of needing to prove my worth in my hustle, in my grind, in my success. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I need to stretch myself. I got to stretch myself to be more vulnerable, to be more intimate. And I do that by having intimate connections and conversations with men that knew me, that I knew. It wasn't just a stranger that I felt safe to be, vulnerable, but it was actually, I get to go to the next level and to have an intimate conversation with men that I knew. So I reached out to him. And I knew that was very stretchy for me, because remember, this was a man that I felt so much attraction to. And second of all, I saw him as better than me, right? I saw him as superior of me because of his expertise, because of where he was at. And so it took a lot of courage for me to even reach out to him and be like, hey, can we create this? Can you role play with me? Can I practice deepening my intimacy with men with you? And that completely opened such a floodgate of my blossoming into my sexuality from that moment on, because he was so great at holding space for me. Like a man in his divine masculine is so beautiful in how well he can hold space for the divine feminine, for the wild emotion in a woman, right? Feeling, creating that safe structure, creating that safe space for her to feel safe to surrender, for her to feel safe to open up, to receive. And that's exactly what he did. I remember when we FaceTime, even him offering us to do some breathing exercise together, that moment, I felt so safe in his presence that I completely broken down. I just started crying for no reason. It was because I felt so safe. I felt so held. I felt so seen in his presence that I just broke down. Right. I started crying. I started letting out all my emotions that I never felt safe to express and to let out. And from that moment on, we just started this beautiful connection between the two of us. And he was really guiding me, leading me with expressing my sexuality. We were engaging on such a deep, intimate level via texting, calling, and we were just like this desire that we have for each other was just building up massively, like every single moment of every day. And he lives in New York, right? And I'm here in California, and that was September when we first started connecting. And in the span of 2 months or so, well, September, October, November, December, it was in the span of 3 months that our desire for each other just like continued to climb. Like it's hard to explain that. And because of his support, because of my connection with him, I just felt more and more dropping into my body. And that's also the same time when I first started pole dancing, right? So I've been there's all kinds of different angles where I was deepening and cultivating and nourishing my connection with my body, my connection with what turns me on, what gives me pleasure, what heightens my senses. And finally, this past weekend, I flew out to New York. Actually, it was a very, very beautiful gift of him. He flew me out, and even by saying yes to that, I had to overcome a lot of shame, a lot of judgment, a lot of guilt, a lot of, oh my gosh, I shouldn't do this. Like, who am I to fly across the country to create intimate connections with this man, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? I had so much shame. I had so much shame in my body, like telling me I shouldn't do this. I've never even meet this man in person before. Like, what am I thinking? Right. So I had to process and integrate and heal a lot of these nonsense judgment that I had for myself. And every time I took one step forward in the face of fear, in the face of guilt, in the face of judgment, I was saying yes to myself and saying no to all of the bullshit lies and the society's expectation or what people judge, all other people's judgment. I was saying no to that. Every time I say yes to myself, every time I take a step forward. And that's exactly what I did, and that weekend was so magical. Like, I cannot even begin to tell you how sacred it is to be in the presence. I felt like I was being treated like a total queen, like a goddess. I felt, and that's because everything that I experienced with him was a reflection of my relationship with myself, because I've been so much honoring my body, honoring who I am, honoring my sacred sexuality. I got that in my experience with another person. Everything outside of us is just a reflection of our relationship with who we are. So everything was great. He tended to me, he cared for me in such a caring, loving way. Got to New York, and then checked in at my place, at my hotel, and then like he knew understood how I didn't have water in the hotel. I didn't have food. I didn't have anything. And he came to my hotel with a couple bottles of water and like kombucha and coconut water and a chocolate bar and dessert, and then went out for such a beautiful, delicious dinner. We had such delicious sushi, and it was just so great, right? And just feeling like we got to connect on a very deep emotional way before we took it to next level, before we got intimate physically. And let me just tell you, that was probably one of the best sex that I've had. And, even saying that with you guys, even admitting that out in public, like that was another yes for me, right? Like, I mean, you guys can, I can receive all kinds of judgment, but that's okay. Like, I know my truth. I know what I'm here to create, and I know what's in alignment for me. So yeah, I said it, right? I said it. But the thing was, the weekend together with him not only invited and opened up all of this beautiful essence, these magic, these next level of ecstasy and pleasure and orgasm, but it also invited and opened up a ton of shadows, the dark stuff that haven't been looked at in my body. It brought to surface just like the untapped ecstasy and pleasure and orgasm that I wasn't accessing. It also broke open everything in my body, the pain, the trauma, the guilt, the judgment, relating to sex, relating to relationship, relating to partnership, romantic relationship, all of that stuff got brought to the surface. So while it was beautiful, while it was magical, at the same time, it was very painful. It was very painful emotionally. It took me a couple of days. It took me a couple of days. That's why I'm finally coming on here and share this experience with you all, because it took me a couple of days to really sit with my pain, to process, to integrate what was coming up for me. What was coming up for me was, why did I always attract into my life beautiful man with qualities that I desire in a partnership. Like I crave and I desire something deeper than just physical intimacy. I desire a conscious love, a conscious partnership with someone who wants all of me, right? Who wants me physically, emotionally, spiritually, at the depths of my being. And I realize that that's always missing up until very recently, right? Like that's one thing that was always missing. And I really got to take a look at that. I really got to take a look at that. In what ways have I not been choosing myself? In what ways have I not been there to love myself unconditionally? In what ways have I not been accepting the whole of me, every part of me, the good, bad, and the ugly, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? Like, in what ways have I been rejecting myself? In what ways have I been abandoning myself? And that was a painful awakening. It was a painful realization to look at that, right? Because this had nothing to do with the guy that I was connecting with. I was simply calling forth from him everything that was a part of me, right? I cannot attract something that is not in me, right? So if I wasn't attracting from him the next level of commitment or the next level of deeper connection, then I know that in a way that's reflecting something in me that I'm not showing up to myself with. Um, so I got to look at that. And after I came back to California, and again, I'm just so grateful for this man. We are still connecting, we continue to connect, and he holds such a powerful space for me to feel safe in my emotion, to feel safe in my insecurities, to feel safe in the stuff that comes up. And he continued to hold space for me to process that. And ever since that experience, I cannot begin to tell you how much power I feel like I've reclaimed, and how much this deeper unconditional love that I feel for myself. You know, I am fully committed to not outsource my love from other people. So because when I felt that pain, when I felt that void in my heart, I wasn't going to him. I wasn't blaming him. I wasn't, saying like, "Hey, why didn't you give me this?" I turned everything inward, and I really got to look at, how can I give this to myself? How can I give this love and this cherishment, this appreciation that I'm yearning for? How can I give that to myself? And I really did. I really did. And I feel like I can feel it now on a moment by moment basis. I've really taken such powerful time to meditate, to be there for myself, to not reject myself. And how can I have a book, the book that I got recently. It's such a beautiful summary of the work that I've done in these past 72 hours or so. It's whatever arises, love that. I'll say it again. Whatever arises, love that. And that includes any feelings of guilt, any feelings of unworthiness, any feelings of not good enough, any feelings of not lovable, whatever arises, love that. It's my responsibility. It's my job to love myself. When I'm feeling sad, I deserve more love, not less. When I'm feeling insecure, I deserve more love, not less. And the more I learn how to give that to myself, the more whole I become. So I'm no longer needing that from other people, or feeling resentment when I don't get that from other people, because I am whole and complete on my own. And when I come together with another person, magic happens, because I'm not needing something from him to fill up a void in me. So that's basically what happened. I mean, there's so much underneath of that I can talk forever about it. But there's just so much magic when we can reclaim this part of us. Sexuality, our body, it's everything. Without this, we are living maybe one tenth of who we are, right? And most of us are, yeah, that's how we live. And our body it's a powerful mechanism that allow us to move our emotion through. It's how we express our emotions. When we feel joyful, we express joy with our body. When we feel pleasure, experience pleasure with our body. But most of us are trying to live life right here, up in the head, which I used to do, right? Just thinking our way to pleasure, thinking our way to happiness. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So without your connection to your body, without your connection to what turns you on for life, you are not fully living. So do whatever you get to do to reclaim this part of you. And I take a powerful stand for that. And this whole live stream was shared with so much courage, compassion for myself, acceptance for myself, love for myself. Because without that, without me first creating this unconditionally loving and accepting space for me, I know I cannot create that for my clients, for people that I'm working with, for the woman that I'm standing for. I gotta do that for myself first. And, another inspiration that really prompted me to share this with y'all today is because I got a text from an astrologer that I subscribe to for his services. And he said, Miko, your goal today is to practice what you preach, put your beliefs into motion, right? So this is me walking the talk. This is me being wide open, vulnerable, and transparent with y'all. So I cannot wait to hear all of your thoughts, whatever come up for you. If you're feeling triggered by this, if you're feeling judgment, share it. I don't take any of that personally. I understand that this is your journey, this is your process, this is my process, this is my journey. Express yourself. If you're feeling judgment, if you're feeling whatever it's coming out for you, share that in the comments with me. And I would love to hear all about it. All right. And if anyone wants to dive and connect deeper, I'm available. I'm available to jump on a call and let's talk. All right. Thank you everyone for listening and have an amazing, magical, beautiful day. And I'll see you soon. Take care.